Hi, I'm Jocelyn Greenky, and I'm an office politics, diversity, culture expert. And we're talking to Leslie Seymour, who is the former and still is fabulous editor in chief of All Things Women. And both,
Okay, good.
right? Is that correct? I mean, Marie
Oh,
Claire,
yeah.
more, I mean, you name
Redbook,
it.
Mary Claire, YM, More Magazine. Oh my God. It got to the point of like, I can't edit another magazine. I'm done.
Right. Done with publishing and moved on to digital.
Yes. And I love it. I'm so much happier being my own boss and doing something that's not paper. I have to tell you, I really love the fact that, I mean, look at this. Look how we can communicate and how we can talk. And to me, it's as close as sitting down across the table. And I love it.
Right. I do too, and it's a wonderful way to communicate, and obviously on a million different platforms, and easy to get that information to each other. And one of the topics that we were discussing before we got on, is the fact that so many people have to readjust themselves, and over 50, because of career changes, because at the moment you're still aging out, which is completely strange to me, because I would think that you would want somebody experienced at the top or even in the
Right.
middle. And
Right.
now reinventing yourself or changing when you're over 50 is critical for the boomer, world, and the fact that there's five generations who are working together. So wanted just to
Mhm.
get into, how does the average person who has some great ideas or some things to do, very nervous to go back to the workplace or stay in the workplace, done with that whole thing, how do they
Mhm.
reinvent themselves? What are the first three steps to do, and how long does it take?
Well, the number one thing, and I'll tell you, is you have to plan. This is not something that you can be, handed your pink slip and then you're going to be able to reinvent yourself. You have to be realistic. And I hear it from so many women who are 50 plus, and they're men too, but obviously my world is women. And the signs were there. They knew they were aging out. Everybody suddenly was 20 or 30 years younger in the office. They had the highest salary. Um, and then suddenly something happens and they're unprepared for it. What I go around, Jocelyn, talking about is that everybody has to have a reinvention plan in their back pocket. And this is true for men as well. But women, we tend to get pushed out in our 50s. Men tend to, for whatever reason, get pushed out in their 60s, almost right before retirement. But women are getting pushed out earlier, and it's really difficult to watch friends of mine who were big, big people in business, and they were suddenly pushed out. And then, I'm having coffee with them, and they're like, "Oh, it's been 2 years, and I've applied to everything on LinkedIn, and nobody's responding, and I don't understand why, and I don't, it's like you have to be prepared way before that happens. And the problem is too is that a lot of people say to me, "Oh, well, I was at my company for 22 years and they loved me." And it was like, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with disruption. It has to do with them downsizing. It has to do with them suddenly being bought and everybody's being moved to Anchorage, Alaska. And these things happen. And we like to stick our head in the ground because it's too hard to deal with. But after doing More for 8 years, and More, at the core of More, was all about reinvention. And it was about women reinventing themselves. And it doesn't have to be just career. It can be reinventing yourself in terms of, you always wanted to be a blonde. I mean, look at me. I was not a blonde. You want to finally deal with your health issues. You want to finally deal with your weight issues. You want to, whatever it is that you want to reinvent. So that was the core of More. So luckily for me, I spent 8 years getting a course in how to be prepared. And the number one thing that you must do is put aside some money. And that's not possible for some people, but it is something that you should be thinking about, even in your 40s. Have a rainy day account that is separate from everything else. What they say is you need a year of salary in there. You need at least a year if you're going to try and get another job. It's just that as you get to be older, it's going to take longer to get another job. And I really can't tell you that there's going to be another job. You may be forced, as we used to say it More, you may be forced to reinvent yourself. And what's really interesting is the numbers are really fantastic for women who are older in terms of reinvention. Guess how old the average entrepreneur actually is in America today?
Average?
Yeah,
Um,
average age.
Geez, I'm going to have to go high only because 96% of the businesses are, owned privately. Yeah, so,
Uh-huh.
or family-run businesses or something. So I'm going to say 40.
Oh, very good. It's 39.
Oh,
Most people think the average entrepreneur is like 25. They all think, it's Mark Zuckerberg or these young kids. It's actually much older. And older women, 40 plus, make up the number one bulk of those people who are reinventing themselves as entrepreneurs. And it's really something you have to plan for. It's not for everybody. There are some people who really hate this idea of having to figure out. I mean, you literally have to figure out every single morning how you're going to move that ball up the hill. And I was always a corporate person. I've been a corporate person for 40 years, except for maternity leave and then some freelancing stints. And when I would come down here, this is my office right here in my dining room, and I would sit at this table and I would realize, hey, if I don't make any phone calls, if I don't get on the computer, if I don't reach out to so-and-so, if I don't book an event where I'm going to speak or go, nothing happens. And it is a really different kind of thing, whereas corporate life, and I think this is why people like it, people like the momentum of a corporate life. It is like a rushing stream, and you just drop in and you get in your boat and you start rowing. And there are good and bad things about it, but the momentum in corporate life is very different. There is momentum. There is no momentum when you're an entrepreneur. And that is a really interesting kind of thing. I took a course from a woman named Julia Pimsleur, who did a book which is called $1 Million Women. She's trying to get 1 million women, $2 million businesses by 2020, because it's something like only 2% or 3% of women's businesses make it to the $1 million mark. Because most of us are like, oh, I'll make, $200,000. I'll be really happy. And she's, all about process. And she teaches you how to create, everything in your schedule to make your day move forward. And you actually have to move it forward. Also, if you're a corporate person, you're used to having a lot of people around you moving things forward. This, you have to do everything. You're the, chief packer. You're the guy that has to go get the mail. You have to, check for spelling mistakes. And I'm launching a site for women 40 plus. I just launched a month ago on Valentine's Day. It's called Covey Club. And it takes kind of all my experience of being an editor-in-chief at Redbook, More, and Mary Claire, and sort of smashes it all together and makes it digital. And my tagline is that it is a place where lifelong learners come to connect. Mm-hmm. And, that's not to say that a 20-year-old can't be a lifelong learner, but they probably don't know that they're a lifelong learner yet. And the idea being that you want to continue with this momentum of your life. So number one, you have to have your money. Number two is you must have built your personal brand before you are pushed out or before you leave corporate, if you are in corporate. And all that personal branding, all that personal building, the reason why you're doing that is so when you're out there by yourself, somebody knows who the heck you are and how you're different from anybody else. Social media will do that for you. We at Covey do a lot of discussion about personal branding. There's a lot of stuff on the web you can read, but take some seminars in it. It's very, very important. And
or call me. I'll help people personal brand.
Yes, absolutely. And then, number three is you have to have buy-in. You have to have buy-in from your family. If you have a spouse, if you have a partner, if you have kids, you've got to make sure they're cool with this, because this is a very different process. And, you've got to figure out financing. It may put some pressure on the family if you haven't put enough of your savings away. You also have to figure out whether you're going to raise money or not. So you've got to, not the day that you are let go, I'm talking 6 months or a year ahead of time. You must sit down with your family and say, I don't know. The way I discuss this is I say, it's like having a parachute, in your backpack in case you end up in some situation where you have to parachute out of there. You may never have to. And, bully for you if you can make it all the way to retirement and you get, your retirement and all this stuff and it works that way for you. But you need to have all this planning done. And the point is, sit down with your families. If you have older kids, you need to sit down with them as well and say, this is what I'm thinking. Everything may be great. I have no idea, but I've got a huge salary. I'm at the top of my game here. Our business could be disrupted someday. Maybe it won't be, maybe it will, but I just want to let you guys know, this is what I'm thinking. How do you feel? Are you down with it? How would you feel? And you have to make sure that everybody has buy-in.
Right. Okay. So for the average person who's not prepared, they are let go, and then what? Then what? The immediate thing I always tell people is, stay calm, take a week off.
Yeah.
Don't panic. And go by your name, by your URL, your name.
Oh, very good. Yes, that's a good idea.
Make sure that you have that, because no matter what, to your point, you have to be personally branded. You may use this for a business opportunity, or it's your landing page with your resume and who you are. Right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say then just start to think about, what would you say if you woke up every day and was doing something that you cannot believe that you would get paid for? I can't believe I'm getting paid for even the work that I do, which I love so much, making over businesses and untangling their issues. I can't believe, I'm so happy somebody pays me for that. It's like a love.
Right. But
you have to figure out
if you can get to that, that's the goal. I mean, that is, as I explained to both my kids, I was lucky enough, Jocelyn, that in the way I look at it, I never worked a day in my life. I mean, maybe I worked in 40 years, maybe I worked 12 months out of my entire
career. Very lucky, Leslie. I mean, I don't know.
I know.
That's like,
I was really lucky. I mean, I used to pinch myself, Jocelyn. I literally used to sit at my desk sometimes and say, someone's paying me for this,
Right.
It would be meeting celebrities or going on the Concorde somewhere or traveling the world with Mrs. Obama to launch, Let Girls Learn. Or, I mean, I had that. So I was like, and I was stupid enough, everybody will love this. I actually told one of my corporate bosses when I was running Mary Claire that even if she didn't pay me, I would do the job. And she was the kind of person that, believe me, I'm sure she went
take you up on it.
Tried to figure out
how save some money.
But yes, if you can try to find your way to something that does not feel like work.
Right.
I mean, that's the goal. And, of course, I'm sure you tell your kids that too. I have older kids. And I told them, once you find that thing that you feel like every day you're just getting up and you're going where you want to go.
Right.
And it feels like play.
Right.
That's a fabulous thing to have if you can get there.
Okay. So we might wrap this particular segment up because we all know how long people pay attention to videos. Right. We got to learn from our information that is given to us. So the big takeaways: have money, make sure that it's pre-planned.
Yes.
Talk to other.
Check it out. Check it out with the people around you ahead of time.
See, planning. Who's making what other businesses that you're thinking of that you can't believe you get paid for? How would that be structured? Don't overwhelm yourself so much, and I've always said take 10 minutes a day to learn whatever you can in 10 minutes, so it doesn't seem overwhelming. Oh,
I like that. 10-minute learning. That's good.
Learning. That's how I do Duolingo. Trying to learn that, I only spend 10 minutes on it a day. So
okay. That's good. I like it.
But the biggest thing that I love about this is that you really need to pre-plan. So start now. If you're still in it.
People just don't. They really think that they're going to be the exception. And the problem is it has nothing to do with you. Everybody thinks
Don't take it personally.
oh, yes. And everybody thinks, oh, I'm doing it right. I'm personable. I'm this, I'm that. It has nothing to do with you. And the pace of what's going on today, Jocelyn, is changing so fast.
Right.
You know, our kids are going to have 7 jobs before they're 30. Those are the numbers.
It's
And, you know, things are just happening. So you have to be prepared.
very good. Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Let's do this again.
Good. No problem.
Showcase the next few steps of what to do next.
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
I'm still learning.
That's why you launched your fabulous company, the Covey Cup.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, bye.
Bye.